Mexico is a popular tourist destination, especially for residents of the U.S. border states. As a kid, I used to travel here with my family on vacation. But fewer tourists are making their way across the border these days. Once bustling streets are now empty. The increase in drug violence has produced a situation where not only tourists but locals are afraid to be on the streets.
Of course, it's a city without law. There's no law here.
It's not just that you have to be careful when you go out or that when you're walking around the streets, like maybe something's going to happen to me. It's just that you talk to people and they're just hopeless.
In these days, you can trust. You see a policeman and you feel doubted. That would be in the cartel, that would be a honest policeman.
People have little trust in a police force that's become known for working with and protecting the cartels.
When you see all these cops out here, it's hard not to wonder who's a good guy and who's corrupt, because there has been so much corruption in the police world here in Mexico. The police don't have the best reputation here.
They have a very bad reputation. It's important to say it, and it's important to recognize it. It's the highest level of corruption that could be in a police force, and I'm in the process of firing about 400 out of the 1,600 police officers for failing lie detector tests, and where we have specifically asked them if they're involved in corruption with organized crime.
Some people blame the rise in violence to power shifts within Mexico's government. For 71 years, Mexico was ruled by one party, the PRI, which maintained order by allowing some cartels to operate as long as they kept their violence out of public sight. But in 2000, the PRI lost power and Mexico ushered in a multi-party democracy. Corrupt elements within the new political parties had ties to different cartels, and the war over control of the drug trade began to escalate. In Tijuana, one of Mexico's most violent cities, I visited the office of Alberto Capella, an outsider and reformer who was brought in to head the police force and to break the ties between the cartels and corrupt officials.
Well, you mentioned that you're fighting these two wars, a war within the police world and a war within the drug trafficking world. You must have a lot of enemies.
A lot of enemies, yes. And every day I have a new ones. Every year we are losing our space, our liberty, our freedom, because it's in the hands of the criminals.
Capella offered to give us a tour of the city. He showed up at our hotel in a convoy with an entourage.
We're heading right now on a patrol. We have one police truck in front of us. We have two armored vehicles full of policemen behind us, and we are here in the armored vehicle of Mr. Capella. You can tell by this. It's very thick.
Alberto Capella needs this much protection. Just before he took the job as head of Tijuana's police, 20 to 30 armed men came to his house. Capella was alone. His attackers fired 250 rounds into his house, but missed him. Capella, who had only held a gun half a dozen times in his life, fired back and drove them away.
And that was 3 days before you officially took the job. Did you have any reservations?
When they do that, I think maybe they don't like me.
You think?
I don't know, but maybe no.
Oh my gosh. What is that?
In a restaurant. These ones are 4 bodies who we found in.
And so these are all the scenes that you visited?
In the last 2 weeks.
It's just body after body.
Capella tried to reform Tijuana's police force by getting rid of more than 100 officers, but the violence didn't stop. The month after we met him, he was fired as police secretary. While killings in Mexico's drug war continue to escalate, kidnappings are also on the rise as criminal groups look for other ways to make money.
You were kidnapped.
Yes, I was.
Can you tell me about that experience and what happened?
I spent 83 days with my hands tied up and my feet tied up to an iron bed.
In 2008, the kidnappings in the border area have really reached what I would consider epidemic proportions.
I was laying on the floor, I just couldn't move. The chains that I had, any noise that they would make, it was for sure they were going to beat me up.
Now, who is doing these kidnappings? Who's responsible?
We believe it's different groups, factions of cartels that either currently exist, drug cartels, or that previously existed. We have had several instances where Americans have been kidnapped in this country and then brought south of the border, held there while the whole ransom process takes place. And that aspect of Americans being kidnapped on American soil is particularly disturbing.
Coming up, weapons of warfare, how guns from the U.S. are helping to fuel narco violence across the border.
The drug cartels in Juarez have advertised openly they will pay $5,000 for a AR-15, AK-47 type rifle, no questions asked.